Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're listening. Welcome to today's webcast, How Multilingual Virtual Agents Are Defining the Future of Work. I'm Dan Turchin, CEO of PeopleReign, the AI-first system of intelligence for employee service. If you like what you hear, hang around until the end. We're offering a free AI briefing to all registered attendees through our partner Thirdera, co-host of today's event. Now, I'm going to open the time capsule a bit. We started PeopleReign in 2016 to define the future of work. Here we are 5 years later. Millions of employees are the best versions of themselves because, you know what? They're no longer constrained by the drudgery of routine tasks. They accomplish in, say, 7 hours what used to take 8. And they're using that extra hour per day to be better humans, parents, spouses, colleagues, and friends. But you know what? We are just getting started. We want everyone in your organization to experience similar benefits. That's our objective today, to help the next, say, billion employees love work and become better humans. That's the real promise and the real power of AI. We'll break the session into a few components. I'll start with an intro. I'll talk about how AI is used to deliver better employee experiences. We'll then bring in a very special guest for a discussion about the future of work. I'll then unveil the newest version of the world's smartest virtual agent for employee service. For the first time ever, you're going to witness a public demo showing how it speaks 27 languages and answers about 5 million common IT and HR questions. We will then wrap up with a few actionable tips for defining your AI strategy. We'll leave time for your questions, and we'll also want to make sure that you have a chance to register for that free AI briefing. Systems of intelligence like PeopleReign automate the lifecycle of employee service requests. By infusing intelligence into every aspect of the service health lifecycle, employee issues are resolved the right way the first time for a fraction of the cost of traditional voice and email support. In the request phase of the service health lifecycle, AI guides the employee to the best resource using NLP, natural language processing, and semantic parsing, a conceptual understanding of what the employee is asking. It then classifies the dialogue as either a request, an incident, or a question, and it's able to take the best action based on that. In the second phase, the diagnose phase, AI interactively gathers details from the employee. It enriches the conversation with contextual details, and then it either takes action or engages a live agent as needed. And I'll show you this in the live demo as well. In the next phase, the resolve phase, AI verifies that the fix worked and incorporates feedback from the employee into machine learning models to improve accuracy for subsequent related requests. And then in the final phase of the life cycle, the learn phase, AI identifies trending issues and predicts what will happen next, and more important, what to do to prevent further service disruption before any employees are impacted. As systems of intelligence continuously improve with every conversation, they get better. Your virtual agent is like staffing a call center with 1,000 of the most skilled, seasoned live agents. Plus, it's always available in every region. And as you'll see, it speaks every major language fluently. So I want to leave you with the top 10 questions to ask when you're evaluating a system of intelligence. Now, keep in mind, this is different from your system of record. The system of record kind of captures artifacts associated with what was done, but the system of intelligence is continuously making decisions about what action to take autonomously. So you want to make sure that your system of intelligence is capable of automating the process of selecting the best algorithm. It automates the process of tuning those algorithms with what we call hyperparameters. It automates the process of extracting the features from the utterances from the employees that have the most predictive power. It obviously gets better all the time, and it does that through a concept called active learning that's engaging the human in the loop. So this fusion of humans and machines to improve the accuracy for subsequent interactions. The best systems of intelligence will know what they don't know. So be able to recommend that the issue escalates to a live agent if it's something the virtual agent's not capable of resolving. They use domain ontologies to create a a deep understanding of the actual nature of the interaction. They're able to classify incoming requests across domains. So that could be HR, IT, SecOps, it could be legal, finance, sales, etc. They are configurable. So no black boxes. So AI is transparent, it's configurable, it's explainable. And lastly, they can accomplish a variety of tasks. So an AI-driven system of intelligence must be able to converse fluently in any language with employees, but equally, it must be able to predict what the value of a field should be, recommend the best next action to a live agent, and of course, forecast what that pattern of interactions with the virtual agent means in terms of subsequent patterns that might occur, so that you can, again, suppress future issues before there's any impact to the business. So the thing that the AI-based system of intelligence is really best at is eliminating friction, the friction that makes the employee experience suboptimal. Now, as we all know, the pandemic forced us to become, well, call it kind of our own IT technician. All of a sudden, there was no more walk-up support, no hallway conversations. You couldn't kind of shirt collar the IT person in the hallway. Instead, we learned to rely on self-service portals and digital tools to get our questions answered. For some, that created friction, but for everyone using the right system of intelligence, it eliminated it. Now, here are the three leading causes of friction for employees trying to get IT and HR help. And on the right side of each of these containers, it shows how a system of intelligence eliminates them. So starting with long wait times. So we've all been on the other side, on the wrong side of the help desk, where a simple issue takes hours, sometimes days to resolve. With automated answers from a system of intelligence, that's a thing of the past. Wrong answers, how frustrating it is when something that seems pretty obvious and might have an easy answer ends up languishing in the wrong queue. And oftentimes, the triage process is that L1, level one, might be staffed by junior technicians or just used as a triage function. So we're not going to get the right answer until there's an escalation. That's a bad user experience. That's what generates friction. Introduce an AI system of intelligence, and almost all the common questions are answered the right way the first time. And then lastly, what's an awful user experience is when you don't speak the language that the person who happens to answer the phone in the help desk speaks. So we firmly believe that a intelligent employee experience, or one that delivers the least amount of friction, is one where the virtual agent or the system of intelligence is available anytime, any region, in any language. This is a very hard problem to solve technologically, but we really feel like it's incumbent on the system of intelligence to kind of disintermediate this traditional process and help employees expect more from the service experience they get from their employers. And we're going to focus today on some new innovation that the PeopleReign team has developed. I'm so proud of the team that has brought this to the market. It's the culmination of years and centuries worth of R&D, led by a team of the world's most accomplished NLP and AI data scientists. And it solves a big problem. So poor language support has plagued service desks for decades. In fact, roll back the clock, when I was at ServiceNow from 2010 to about 2014, our approach was comprehensive, but as many of you know who have used ServiceNow, it's not real scalable. It requires manually providing translations for common words and phrases, and then maintaining those with duplicate copies of underlying content, for instance, knowledge articles. And obviously, it also requires you to have native speakers in each supported language. The translated content in the old world was almost always obsolete the day it was authored, and support for things like double byte languages, right to left languages was very limited. That's what in the past has created a lot of friction between employees and the service providers. Today, we're launching the newest version of our virtual agent. It solves decades of poor support for international speakers. Whether you speak Thai or Turkish, Swedish or Swiss French, the PeopleReign solution uses sophisticated NLP technology to auto-detect the language that you're speaking and then translate the most appropriate content into your language of choice. So I'll show you this in just a few minutes. Unlike anything out there, only PeopleReign does that translation automatically. Not just the virtual agent dialogue, but also the underlying answers. That's the real breakthrough. Every major global language is now a first-class citizen in the system of intelligence. I firmly believe that's the respect that every employee deserves. That's what it means to use AI to make everyone better. Before I begin the demo of the multilingual virtual agent, here's a quick tour of the 4 phases of the service lifecycle that I'll cover in the demo. We will talk through what it means to use AI to manage the request process. We'll talk through how AI is used to route requests, create them, route them, fill in the appropriate fields, set the appropriate CI, set the appropriate knowledge article. Third phase, I'll show you in the live demo, how AI interactively diagnoses and resolves issues. And then lastly, how AI not only restores service, but incorporates that learning, that feedback from the user to make sure that subsequent interactions that are similar are even better. Those are screenshots of the 4 applications that we'll go through. Again, we'll do all this live in just a moment, but I teased at the beginning of this session that we're going to have a special guest join us. And I'm so excited to bring this special guest in for a little bit of a dialogue. Jason Wojahn is the CEO of good partner Thirdera. Again, thanks to Thirdera for co-sponsoring this event. It's the largest pure play ServiceNow partner. We last had Jason on a few months back. It was about 100 days ago. It was in April. And gosh, a lot has happened since then. And I just wanted to invite Jason back to share an update. He'll share with us what he's been hearing in the field and keep me honest, because I'm talking about a lot of kind of future-facing things, but you know what? This is also very real. It's in the trenches, and nobody's more capable of talking about what's going on in the trenches like my friend Jason Wojahn. Jason, welcome back.
Thanks,
maybe
Dan.
share with us a little update. So what has happened since April?
Thanks for having us on, and thanks for continuing to just be a great partner with us. Let's see, last 100 days, we've hired just over 100 people in the Americas. We've acquired an additional company, the APAC Partner of the Year for ServiceNow, a company called ServiceNow Solutions, SLS, out of Australia, as we continue to expand globally. We've implemented a myriad of new systems and processes in an effort to really make sure that we're well aligned in our ambition of being that globally relevant pure play partner that companies can go to get the best value out of ServiceNow. And again, I always kind of like to say value is a measurement that the customer is the measurer of, not the partner. And we're off to a nice start in our ambition. You mentioned AI projects. I have to say that every day that we spend with PeopleReign, we learn a little bit more about AI. We've got a number of AI-based projects in flight, as I know you know. But what I've been most surprised about is how often an AI type of project or a futures of technologies project, AI, RPA, ML, data science, masquerades as something that is seems somewhat commonplace. In fact, we've got a large customer in the US, a very large bank, where we were actively working on a service catalog, service request kind of project with them, just expanding, improving, refining, doing some housekeeping. And as we were through that, we quickly determined, as we further impacted, there was a real opportunity for AI types of technologies there, not only in helping to advise and determine and help us refine over time the content that's published to that bank's employees, but also the efficiency of their self-service experience and how that information is provided to them. So, I was really surprised at how often self-service, service requests, service catalog, knowledge management, MTTR improvement, mean time to repair, or even call or case reduction projects can quickly, if you have the background, you have the experience, you have the partnerships, you have some of the learnings, can manifest into something that can be very effectively used, some of these technologies to really improve the outcomes. So
Jason, a lot of people are concerned about potential job elimination from AI, and yet, you and I talk a lot offline, and there's so much enthusiasm for the ways that AI can be incorporated into, like you said, whether it's a service catalog project, a knowledge management project. Nobody on the ground is actually talking about job elimination. What's your perspective based on what you actually hear from clients?
yeah, I've actually yet to see an eliminated job for these projects that we're either completing or conducting or have completed or even talking about in a speculative manner. It's really about efficiencies. I love the fact that these technologies never tire. They're always out there, learning and refining and presenting more context to the companies that are using them. Deming once said, data without context is meaningless. Context changes so quickly with the immersion of data and companies going digital, that you need these technologies to help you kind of parse the noise from the signals and get your resources most focused on those signals. And that's a compounding problem. Year over year over year, more data. Year over year over year, more technologies, more processes, more capabilities than we've ever had. And having something help you find those signals from the noise is really quite critical. And having that never sleeping and always seeking to refine that customer experience only puts the teams that implement them in a more impactful place, a more powerful place, a more efficient place, and something that is much more aligned to their employees or their customers.
Now, you and I have been doing this for for decades, and one of the things I think we'd agree is a trend in the workplace is more global teams. And today we're going to specifically be focusing on the ability of the virtual agent to speak 27 languages fluently. Talk to us about the value or the impact of that multi-language support is on kind of the future of work and eliminating friction from the employee experience.
Yeah, well, nothing implements more friction than not being able to communicate, right? The only problem with communication is the illusion that it's occurred. That's a famous quote that I didn't come up with, but it's true. As I look at it, many companies, many significant companies are multinational, and the ability to meet people where they are with technology is going to be the best recipe for efficiencies. You mentioned frictionless on a previous slide. That's going to be the more frictionless experience for folks, is communicating, conversing in languages that they're most comfortable and most confident in. And it's a really good example or emblem of what we were just talking about. That's largely something you couldn't staff a team of people to do, right? And if you did, you'd need so many people to do it, 7x24, 365, that it would be near impossible to economically offer that experience. Yet with technology, you can bridge that gap and offer that more contextual experience for your employees or those that would be consuming the services.
Before I can let you off the hot seat, one last question. You talked about just the torrid pace of growth, even in the last 100 days at Thirdera. And again, offline, we were talking about kind of the special partnership that PeopleReign and Thirdera have. Tell our audience a little bit more about Thirdera. What are the kinds of projects that you're doing, and what might be a good candidates for engaging with Thirdera?
Oh, well, at the highest level, fancy charts and buzzy words aside, we're aspiring to be and putting into motion this notion of being the most focused and most scaled partner on ServiceNow across the globe. We want to help customers attract value in their next era. We realize that is a 360 degree effort that includes license management, that includes workflows, that includes advisory, that includes being comprehensive across the ServiceNow platform, which, as you know, is multinodal. It can be industrial, it can be IT, it can be business, it can be people or HR, legal, so many things. It takes a sizable company to achieve that. And one of the segments, or one of the things that I saw, I think, really lacking in the ecosystem was that scale pure play partner that was able to be comprehensive across the platform. And and be consultative in nature to help meet customers where they're at and help them derive value and influence acceleration of value along their ServiceNow journey. That is all our company's doing, right? Secondarily, we're trying to create a company we all want to work for, where we feel valued and are progressing our skills and are actively learning and are really pushing emergent and new things into the ecosystem in an effort to help those be more bite-sized or be more consumable by our clients as well, all in the effort of attracting value. So at the highest level, without flowery words or charts, that's really what we're trying to achieve.
I love that you live those values every day. The partnership is really special, not just for business reasons for PeopleReign and Thirdera, but because of the value that it creates for our mutual customers. And just appreciate you coming on, spending a few minutes with us, and so much to look forward to up ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, well, of course, anytime. And thanks for being that ambitional partner with us. I really get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing what PeopleReign is doing. And I've been just with that 30 plus years of technology experience, I've been dumbfounded with really what is possible with these technologies. So with that, I've adopted a bit of a passion, as you know, about helping that intersection occur within the context of the work that we influence. So thanks for being that partner as well.
You bet. Likewise, best is yet to come. And as much as I know all of you are enjoying hearing two friends catching up, I think you might be here because you're going to see the world's smartest virtual agent for IT and HR employee service, speaking up to 27 languages fluently. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and cut over and have some fun with a live demo. Okay, well, let's have some fun. So this is, so just for context, so I mentioned I'm going to show you all 4 phases of the service health lifecycle, automated using AI. I assure you, no hamsters turning wheels in the background. This is all live AI. I'll show you a couple different interfaces for the request phase, the route phase, the resolve phase, and then of course we'll talk about some of the automated learning as well. And to start off with, in the virtual agent, I'm going to ask some questions, and I'll play around with the multi-language support as well, so you can see how everything can be equally well performed in a variety of languages. So I'm going to start with kind of the canonical example. The password reset. So for many organizations, this alone resolves up to 1/3 of calls and emails. So let's see if it gets this one. And I'm going to start in English. Turns out to be my best language. I need to reset my password. And we're going to ask the virtual agent, and it's going to first detect the language. It's going to reply in my native language. It correctly detected that was English. And not only that, so here's a smart experience. So talk about eliminating friction. Not only did it understand what I want to do, but it actually understands the context. So looks like you need your SSO password reset. It turns out my organization uses Okta. So this is, again, a live demo. I can pull up on my real phone, show you a real Okta, I don't know if you can see that, but a real Okta password reset email. So off I go. So I can continue the flow using MFA multi-factor authentication and complete the action as requested. I'm going to go ahead and say that's helpful. Now, let's see, just for kicks, my German's pretty weak, but I'm going to go ahead and use my friend Google Translate. I'm going to say the same thing. Let's see, I'm going to pick German just for kicks. Ich muss mein, I'm not, even my pronunciation is poor, so you're just going to have to trust me in Google that that's the right translation. And we're going to see if the virtual agent understands German. So we're going to pick what Google told me is the same utterance, and just like that, in fact, the virtual agent does speak German much better than I do. So this is that same article, same intent was detected, only now all of the underlying content in real time was translated. So not only was my language, you saw I didn't change anything. I was just another employee coming in speaking German. All the buttons have been translated. I'm going to take it on faith that that one means it was helpful. But so now in German, I'm able to have an identical experience and reset my password. So lots of other things that the virtual agent can do. I told you I'd kind of poke around and show some action taking, some questions being answered. So let's say, here's maybe a common question. One of the capabilities I mentioned in the top 10 features that you should expect in a system of intelligence is the ability to detect whether it's a request, whether it's a question, whether it's an incident. And so in this case, this is not a request that I have to reset my password, but I'll say, when will my office reopen in English? And let's see if that's something. Okay, so in this case, spot on, right? It got the answer. There's this is a snippet. This isn't a knowledge article. This is just the answer. We're reopening one office every 2 weeks. Here's the order, up to and including, Stuttgart, Germany. So that's helpful. Now I'm gonna, let's see, do the same thing, only we'll see. I'm just gonna copy it and ask my friend Google. Maybe we'll try, I don't know, okay, 3 languages up there. We'll try Italian this time. And let's see if virtual agent does okay with that translation. So again, same request, only this time it correctly identified that my language is now Italian. Quando, I'll spare you my my poor Italian, but there it is, translated into Italian, real time, same article, same content. I feel great. If I'm an Italian speaker, this is the first time that, I feel like my language is a first-class citizen. That was an awesome experience, right? No friction. Let's see, try something else. So this may be a break fix question. So something that would traditionally require probably a call or an email or a ticket or something like that. But if I say, again, there's probably a common one. How do I fix the Dell printer? Something like that. See if it understands it in English first. So yes, it does. So that is in fact my printer, a 3100 CN, gives me the instructions for how to fix it. So no need for a call. Now, for whatever reason, I don't like the language translation, which in this case is spot on because it's English. I can flag it, and that will actually flag it for manual review in case for whatever reason the virtual agent doesn't translate it correctly. I can create a ticket too if for whatever reason that wasn't useful. I can always escalate to a live agent. A lot of smart things I can do, just like you'd expect from the world's smartest live agent. And again, just for kicks, let's go ahead and see how this might work in another language. I'll go ahead and pick another common language. Here I have enough Spanish up here. And again, just to show you, no parlor tricks. Let's see. Como reparo la impresora Dell. My Spanish is slightly better than my German. And in fact, it did detect that Spanish was the language, and now I know how to fix my Spanish-speaking Dell printer. And so off I go. So lots of rich examples of the ways you can interact with the virtual agent, just for the sake of kind of showing you some different interfaces. What you're seeing here, this standalone system of collaboration, Microsoft Teams, is like what you'd see in Slack or other systems of collaboration. And I'm going to take you into a self-service portal and show you. This is a ServiceNow self-service portal. It's obviously available in other self-service portals, but slightly different interface, but same intelligent virtual agent, same ability to speak multiple languages. And in the first example in ServiceNow, let me show you something else might be common, a request from the service catalog. Let's say, okay, so in this case, it picked it up right away using natural language processing. You're eligible for a new device. So it looks like I am eligible. I can select from Android or iPhone. I'm going to go ahead and I'll pick the iPhone. It's going to default to my current carrier, Verizon, my current data plan, but obviously if I have options, it's going to default to my office address. So I'll just go ahead and say, yep, that's one. And just like that, I can submit it. It'll go ahead and submit that over to ServiceNow. In this case, it's going to track it. In a minute, I'll show you how that record is tracked through the system. It's going to be assigned. If there's an approval required, it's going to auto route for approval. It's going to continue to have this dialogue with me when approval is accepted. Let's see, one other thing, a couple other things I want to show you the virtual agent can do, just so you can see kind of the breadth. So if ever I'm not sure what it can do or what I need to ask or what language to use, I can always just say something like, what can you do? Not something you typically say to a live agent, but in the case of a virtual agent, oftentimes employees don't know even what the art of the possible is. So this is actually a pretty common request. In this case, it detects that that's a question about what the virtual agent can do. And here's a curated list of the top X, what we call snippets, but top most requested answers. And it shows me a list of everything it can do, and it will drop me right into workflow. So that's a good example. I guess just to continue with the theme of multi-language support, I'm going to go ahead and pick another language. Let's see, we've been, I mentioned 27 languages. So I showed 3 interesting ones. Let's see another one. Let's see if the virtual agent understands Japanese. I sure don't, but I'm going to take it on faith that that's a reasonable translation of what can you do. I'm going to go back to the virtual agent and let's see if it detects the language. Okay, so it did in fact change the flag from US to Japanese, did the translation. It appears that COVID-19 is COVID-19 in Japanese. Anyone who speaks Japanese, feel free to let us know if that translation works. But otherwise, this is a nice experience that I can have anywhere in the world with a virtual agent that is designed to work the way employees do. Another example, ticket management. So common set of requests, oftentimes about a quarter of inbound calls and emails relate to what's the status of my ticket, what's the latest update, who owns it, things like that. So let's see if it detects that. Show me my tickets. Again, it's natural language processing, so you don't have to guess about how to ask it, anything about, my open tickets, my most recent tickets, my incidents, who's working this particular ticket, all that will work. In this case, it shows me a nice formatted table of my recent ones. And again, just for kicks, we'll see. Let's see about another language. I think you get the point that this is kind of the new world of a virtual agent. This is what you should expect. I'll go back to German. Bonus points if you knew this translation before I was able to auto-translate it. But let's go ahead and see how it does with that. So pretty good. So ihr tickets, Anna. And again, it detected that the language of the speaker was German. German's a first-class citizen. Japanese is a first-class citizen. All of your employees now feel like, their service provider is embracing the fact that, their language is valued, their culture is valued. That's really the benefit of a multilingual virtual agent. So I want to show you a couple other things. So I'm just going to sign off. And in this case, I'm going to pretend that I'm really a multilingual speaker. So I'm going to tell it gracias. Again, I can greet it. I can interact with it just like I would a live agent. It's going to detect that I was saying thank you in Spanish. And here's a little fun fact: it actually did translate. So it has a rotating set of closings. It gave me a little fun fact, something about Hawaii. Hawaii se acerca 7.5 centimetros más cerca. Hawaii grows closer to Alaska by 7.5 centimeters cada año, each year. So there you go. Pretty intelligent experience, and I even got educated about Alaska and Hawaii in the process. So I'm going to cut over a couple of other interfaces I want to show you. I mentioned in kind of the preamble about the value of automating the lifecycle of the service request. So in this case, I'm going to show you when the live agent is needed because the virtual agent, for whatever reason, wasn't sufficient. It's going to escalate. The virtual agent will create a ticket, route it, recommend to the live agent how to fix it, provide concepts, tag concepts associated with it. So I'll show you around. This is a ticket related to my McAfee antivirus. It's out of date on my Mac. This arrived either via the phone or via email. But in this case, we're going to reduce the mean time to resolve the ticket because we've now got context and we've got the virtual agent helping us out. So in this case, I mentioned it's designed to answer, or pre-trained to answer about 5 million common questions. Part of the way it does that is by these underlying domain ontologies. So it's able to extract from this short description that this is a request related to McAfee antivirus, it's related to a software upgrade, it's related to Mac. So for routing and recommending, and even understanding the NLP, the natural language utterance, having this kind of semantic understanding of the underlying request is really important. That's in fact how everything you saw in that demo of the virtual agent is just fluent. It's a nice conversational experience. You don't get that from other virtual agents because other virtual agents don't have this understanding of about 5 million concepts related to IT and HR. So I get these concepts that are tagged in the form of these lozenges. I also get this pop up this modal called PeopleReign Classified. It's an application that tells me, the live agent wasn't sure what to set the subcategory to. The virtual agent pops up through Classify and says, you know what, with whatever that is, 83% confidence, it's probably the antivirus subcategory, which makes sense. And the other thing is that once this ticket has been routed, assigned to the right knowledge article, the CI is set, et cetera, in this application called PeopleReign Recommend, we see a list of results from what we call a knowledge graph. And this is from any source of content within ServiceNow, outside ServiceNow, wikis, the public web, chat transcripts, email transcripts, what the best answer is. So in other words, extracting maybe from a 30-page PDF, just the right thing to do right now. And it embeds it right in the ticket. So in this case, here's with a high degree of confidence, it's a high match, how to prepare for a macOS upgrade, running McAfee. So this modal, this pop-up is from PeopleReign. It summarizes the solution from within what may be a larger document. And I've got these digital pins. So when PeopleReign Recommend helps resolve the issue for the live agent just clicks the digital pin. That gives PeopleReign feedback. I mentioned the importance of what we call active learning. So human in the loop, the human told the machine that this is the right answer for this kind of question. Subsequent issues like this will then be, the system may have a higher level of confidence knowing that this was the right answer in this situation. So when the virtual agent isn't sufficient for whatever reason, it hands off with context to a live agent. It routes it. It fills in kind of all the fields, it does all the ticket hygiene that sometimes is prone to human error. It then gives the live agent kind of the happy path, exactly what to do to resolve the issue. The last phase of the life cycle is generating insights from these patterns. And in this case, I'm now in the administration console. I'm in an application called Insights. So now I'm in the persona of, say, kind of a service owner, maybe someone who owns the Wi-Fi service or email or maybe CRM, something like that. And I can see how virtual agent conversations are going. So this is, let's see, this is over a 7-day period. I can see these, we call spark lines, trends in activity, how many conversations, how many calls were deflected, how many tickets were created from how many unique end users. I can then, of course, drill down. This is just for the virtual agent. So I can see kind of all these trends, and more important, I can see what to do about it. Who's impacted, what kind of issues they had, what were they asking the virtual agent, what was the virtual agent recommending. So I know if there's an opportunity to improve accuracy or to deflect more calls with better content, I can see that right from my Insights dashboard. The Insights dashboard is also available for the other applications. So in this case, you saw what Classify was doing. Classify was routing the request when it was created. So I'm going to go into, let's see, my Insights, and I will pick. So this is for just the top one. So this is a very hard machine learning problem to solve. This is saying what was the accuracy and what was the recall, or how often did it make a recommendation, just when you only ask for the top most accurate answer. I could look at the top 3 and it's going to get a lot more accurate if I want the right answer to be in the top 3, but just the top 1, we see some pretty impressive results. We see precision is, it was at 88%. That's better than any live agent could ever expect to do. And that was when we pegged, we call recall or coverage at 100%. So every time it's going to make a recommendation, and you see, in the 70, 80, 90% accuracy, even when we're requiring it to make a recommendation every time. Now, if we relax that constraint and we say, only make a recommendation if you're at least, let's say, 80 or 90% confident, then recall would go down. There wouldn't be as many recommendations, but precision might go up. And in looking at this chart, precision would probably go up to near 100%. So that's what happens when you have a true system of intelligence. It's actively learning. It's doing all the things we talked about. That's really what you should expect if you're going to deliver an automated experience that reduces friction for the employee. There's so much more to cover. I want to be sensitive to everyone's time and make sure we get you out on time, but that's an example of the future of work. That's what happens when you wrap a layer of intelligence horizontally around a system of record like a ServiceNow. You get the benefit of lower MTTR, dramatically lower call volume, dramatically lower cost per ticket, but most importantly, less friction for the user, higher self-service adoption, support in any language. This is the future of work. So the first step in our onboarding process, hopefully we'll have an opportunity to work with you, is what we call an AI briefing. And what it does is really help you prepare your organization, prepare for what it would be like to have autonomous ticket resolution. Now, in the AI briefing, we review things like what you see here, the principles of data preparation, the KPIs that are most impacted by AI, and most importantly for your organization, how to achieve maximum self-service adoption. So this is a bit of a cruel tease. We unpack all of this in the AI briefing. You'll come away with just a really good understanding of how to think about kind of data hygiene, how AI models are trained, consider it kind of AI 101, how to measure autonomous call deflection, how to use gaming mechanics to measure adoption. Over 200 organizations have gone through the AI briefing, and almost all of them report lower MTTR and reduced call volume just as a result of having gone through the AI briefing. Now, as part of today's webcast, we're offering the AI briefing for free. You got to register for it in the next 24 hours. Use the QR code. I'm going to go ahead and put up a QR code. So QR code, or you can go to that URL, thirdera.com/PeopleReign demo, and that'll get you registered for that free AI briefing, but you got to do it within the next 24 hours. I'll go ahead and keep that up there. I said I would try to leave a minute or two, maybe 3, for your questions. And let me go ahead and look at the chat panel. Okay, we've got a lot of questions. I may not be able to get to all of them, but I'll at least get to a few of them. And then, of course, we'll make ourselves available if you have questions offline, or if I don't get to answering any of these. What if it gets the translation wrong? So that's, I guess, a reference to the virtual agent. Yeah, so I showed you in the live virtual agent demo, you always have a button that says flag the translation. So from the user perspective, they can always say, you know, this didn't, like, for instance, maybe that Japanese one wasn't ideal. I can't say for sure. But there's capabilities both on the user side to flag the translation for review, and then on the admin console side, I didn't go into this full demo, but you can also review all of the utterances, all of the detected languages, all of the translated utterances. And if at any point you want to override the auto detection or the auto translation, you can always do that. Next question, okay, also about language support, which languages are supported. Let's see, happy to share with you the full list. Maybe Anna's monitoring the chat for us. If take down who asked that, and we can follow up with the full list of 27. All the major languages spoken around the world. I showed you an example of a double byte like Japanese. It also supports right to left like Arabic and Hebrew, as well as all the common Western languages. Let's see, can we provide custom answers for different languages? Yes, you can actually. In the administration console, you've got a module for multi-language support. You can set the snippets, which are essentially the answers that you were seeing in the virtual agent. You can set which languages you want those to be available in. You can see the auto translation for each of those, and you can always override them if you feel like there's something either custom to your organization or for whatever reason you're not happy with the auto translation. Let's see, question about PeopleReign versus ServiceNow. So ServiceNow has some kind of lightweight capabilities. There's a little bit of overlap, but for the most part, PeopleReign is the system of intelligence that automates all of the decision making, and ServiceNow is the system of record. I'm the biggest ServiceNow fanboy. I spent 4 years there. It's an amazing technology, but it's primarily a system of record. So when it comes to workflow or anything that's a process, it's deterministic. So you want that workflow to live in ServiceNow, but any process where it's not deterministic, where the best decision may change based on context, that's a better fit for a system of intelligence to achieve full autonomous call deflection. Only PeopleReign includes that domain ontology, about 5 million supported concepts. So something you wouldn't get from a system of record, the ability to answer about 5 million common IT and HR topics, all pre-trained. That automated machine learning process, that's something that's obviously native to PeopleReign. So within PeopleReign, you'll find it's going to automate feature selection. It's going to automate hyperparameter tuning. It's going to automate algorithm selection. It's going to facilitate active learning, all the things that you'd expect from a AI first system of intelligence that obviously you wouldn't get from a system of record. Another key item to consider: the PeopleReign architecture is such that all of the AI model training happens outside of the system of record. So you obviously don't want your GPUs to be consumed or to be consuming the compute resources that you have otherwise allocated for your system of record. So by keeping those architecturally separate, all that ServiceNow or your system of record is doing is making a call out to the kind of AI model in the cloud, and then it's returning back either dialogue or a prediction or recommendation. But that way it doesn't impact the performance of anything that you'd otherwise be expecting from ServiceNow. And then kind of like what Jason talked about, a lot of the benefit of teaming up with PeopleReign and Thirdera is you get AI domain expertise. So around the world, most of the most sophisticated organizations using ServiceNow have turned to PeopleReign to be able to kind of provide that almost like an insurance policy for your AI project. This is all we do. It's our passion. We love being in a position where we can complement or augment what you're already doing in ServiceNow with true best of breed world-class AI. Let's see. I might have time for one other question. And then I'm going to get you out of here. So what does PeopleReign cost? So good question. So first off, not to punt on this one, but I encourage you to work with our partner Thirdera, which Thirdera has access to special pricing, not just the AI briefing, but also special pricing. I will talk about the pricing model briefly. So PeopleReign is priced based on the volume of recommendations that it makes. So essentially, every time the system of intelligence autonomously resolves an issue, you essentially have purchased a bucket of recommendations or issues that can be resolved. And it's like a cell phone plan. You just take a token out of the bucket. But the idea is that it's a transparent pricing model. It's predictable. And most important, it's aligned with value. You're not paying unless you're getting value from the system of intelligence. So again, I encourage you to speak with Thirdera, schedule your AI briefing, and you'll get a lot more detail about that. But with that said, if there are questions I didn't get to, I know they were streaming in pretty quickly. I promise we'll get to them offline. Please go to that website, scan the QR code. For the next 24 hours, we're offering that free AI briefing. Thanks again to Thirdera. Most important, thanks to all of you for joining us for today's webcast. Looking forward to working with you to improve the future of work for your organization.